So I call it the escalator fallacy, because there's this notion that at some point in time, humans reached the sort of the end of the escalator
Mm.
of human evolution and stepped off the top. And the reward for that was this sort of wonderful, amazing modern culture with its modern technology. And that once we reached that, we then somehow abandoned our evolutionary past and constraints and determinants of behavior and started living in this completely bizarre, totally mismatched environment to the environment that we evolved in. And therefore, what we do in this environment can't bear anything more than a sort of remote passing resemblance to what we actually evolved to do, to use a pretty poor teleological way of explaining it. And that, of course, is completely incorrect. So that's a really, really unhelpful way of thinking about it. The culture that we live in, we created that. That a culture is an emergent property of everything that humans are, and everything that humans are. The only way we got there is by evolution. At no point in our evolutionary history has anything ever happened to change the makeup of what makes us human that is not accounted for by evolution. Like, no one came along at any point in time and said, congratulations, you finished evolution. Now you get to change and develop under some other kind of mechanism. They never happened, right?
So I think, like, by one perspective, all of society and civilization and culture, none of it is artificial in any ways because it comes from us who are biological organisms.
Correct. They are just our extended phenotype. And so one of the debates, it's not a debate, but one of the conflicts, I guess, that annoys me most is when people try to talk about, oh, is this evolved or is it cultural? And like, that's the stupidest question I've ever heard. That's the stupidest question I've ever heard. It's like saying, what contributes more to the area of a rectangle, its width or its height? It's a nonsensical question. It doesn't have an answer, right? It's a stupid question. And so for me, because I think a lot about culture, I think a lot about sociopolitics, about civilization, about technology, and how all of these things are interacting right now with other aspects of human behavior, to understand what we're doing as a species and what's currently happening in the world that we live in. I think about these things a lot. And the best way to think about it is to just sort of put out of your mind for a moment this misconception that culture is, as you say, some unnatural world that we've been plunged into, and to instead simply recognize that it's no less natural than the dam that the beaver builds, right?